It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. In case you missed it, the Bears have the number one pick in the NFL draft. It's going to be a busy offseason, so if you have any draft questions, free agent questions, trades, whatever, load them up. We're going to answer as many as we can here. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We are filming this while we are still in Los Angeles for the College Football Playoff National Championship game. So that is why I've got the backdrop. We are presented by True Classic today. True Classic Tees. I'm rocking one of their polos right now. Good luck that it brought us for the number one pick. Go to trueclassictees.com/chat. Use promo code chat to get 25% off. They have a ton of different men's clothing items. I'll tell you a little bit more about them later on in the show. All right, let's get to some questions here. Justin, if you gave a percentage, how much do you think the Bears' chances are that they re-sign David Montgomery? Mine is like 60%. I said 50-50 earlier. I'm going to say 50-50 still. I like Monty. He's got a lot of mileage, though. He's had some injuries. You could easily draft a guy in the middle rounds if you wanted to do that. I'm open to bringing back Monty, though. If the price is right, bring that pairing back with Khalil Herbert. The Bears did set a franchise record for rushing yards this year in a season that felt lost. I mean, obviously, a lot of that was Justin Fields, but I think these backs are good, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with David Montgomery. Dylan V, now that Sean Payton is actively taking interviews, I wouldn't mind interviewing him. The only problem with that, Dylan, is you have to fire your coach to interview another head coaching candidate. So, I mean, you're going to fire Flus, interview Payton, and then trade a high draft pick for him. It's not going to happen. Sean Payton will be coaching somewhere this year. I'm pretty confident of that. I think, Denver, maybe a team like Arizona, if they make a change. But he is not going to be the Bears head coach. Owen Spencer, what do you think about Daron Payne, DeForest Buckner, trade a fourth from Yannick Ngakoue, and then draft Tyree Wilson after trading back? I mean, a Daron Payne, Yannick Ngakoue, DeForest Buckner, Tyree Wilson D-line would be awesome. I mean, you'd go from one of the worst to one of the best overnight. I don't think all of that's going to happen. I also don't think you're getting DeForest Buckner for just a fourth-round pick, but I do think getting two of those four is possible, and if that happens, that would drastically help as well. John Allen signed Jadeveon Clowney for cheap in the offseason. Clowney's still a decent player, but he's kind of getting forced out of Cleveland, and the way that ended doesn't look good on him. I don't know. I mean, if it's a cheap one-year deal, I guess that's fine. I mean, you need defensive line help, but I don't know if he's worth the trouble at this point. I'm not completely against the idea, but the way this has ended with the Browns this year isn't a great look, so I do think that's worth mentioning. Bears Now is presented by True Classic Tees. I'm a big fan of their golf polos. They're very comfortable. I can rock them on the show. I can wear them on the golf course, take them to happy hour. That way, you're not changing clothes all day long. You're just rocking True Classic Tees because they're very versatile clothing. What I like about True Classic as well is you can buy in bulk. 6-pack T-shirts, 9-pack polos, 3-packs as well. They have different options, and the higher bulk you buy, the less per shirt that you pay for. True Classic Tees sponsoring us for a little while now, and we do appreciate them for doing that. Use promo code CHAT to get 25% off at trueclassictees.com/chat. Need some new clothes for the new year? True Classic Tees, good value, good quality, and for a affordable price. trueclassictees.com/chat. That link is in the description, as is promo code CHAT to get 25% off. Support our sponsors. That way you can support us here at Chicago Bears Now. All right, we've got more questions to get to. Little Squad with the $5 Super Chat. Do you think the Bears will be the most improved team next season? I think it's possible. You look at a team like the Jags. They had the number one pick last year. They're in the playoffs. They spent a lot in free agency. They already have their quarterback in place. I mean, the Bears enter this offseason in a very similar spot that the Jags do, where they've got a quarterback that's talented that needs to continue to improve, but the rest of the roster needs work. Just like the Jags, the Bears have over $100 million in cap space. Just like the Jags, the Bears have the number one overall pick. So, yeah, I think they could be a team that goes from like 3 wins to 9 wins if they draft the right players and sign the right players. So, big offseason. Ryan Poles, he's either going to make his bread or he's not. And this offseason is he's got to prove it. I mean, this is a monumental 3 months for this franchise. From Space Monkey, would you trade Fields if they offered 3 firsts? I mean, if a team offered me 3 first-round picks for Justin Fields, I'd probably have to take it. And I'm the biggest Fields fan out there. I like him a lot, but it's not like he's Patrick Mahomes where we know he's a guy that's going to win multiple MVPs. I mean, he's still got a ways to go, especially as a passer. I don't think the team around him was good at all this year, but 3 firsts? I mean, that's something you'd have to heavily consider, which, by the way, you're not getting 3 firsts for Justin Fields. Diego, if we get the first, keeping it or trading it, so they do have the first round or number 1 pick. I think trading it for a lot of assets is the best option, but I don't think you have to. I don't think you should force a trade. I think if you're Ryan Poles, you should be, kind of making it clear that there's prospects that you like and are willing to take number 1, because if teams around the league just assume you want to trade it, then that lowers the value. So I think you got to be prepared to make that pick. Whether it's Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, if they do love a quarterback, whoever it is, they've got to be ready to go on that front. What would you do with the number 1 pick? Type T for trade or K for keep it? Again, I think ideally you trade it, but keeping it is certainly on the table. I think Jacksonville would have considered trading last year, but didn't work out that way. But the difference this year is there's quarterbacks that teams want. Last year, there were not. So T for trade or K for keep. J-Dubs, who do we need more, Will Anderson or Jalen Carter? I mean, Matt Eberflus talks a lot about how critical the 3-tech defensive tackle is in this defense. So on that front, you would say Jalen Carter. I think Will Anderson has a chance to be more productive right away. So I'm kind of indifferent. I like both. I think both are needs, edge and defensive tackle. You could talk me into either way. I think there's pros and cons to drafting each guy. Jeff Stewart, Payne, and Terry in their first for ours. Number 1 overall pick for Daron Payne, Terry McLaurin, and what? Probably like 16? It's intriguing. Here's the problem, though. Those 2 players, McLaurin and Payne, are going to be like $45 million in cap, which they're worth it, but do you want to move down from the number 1 overall pick to only get like a mid-teens pick? And yes, 2 win-now players. Maybe you could talk me into that, but I don't know. Like, number 1 pick, like I'd almost rather just get more picks and have more cap flexibility. But it's an interesting idea. So I'll have to think about that one a little bit more. Subscribe to the channel. It's going to be a busy off-season. Live shows every Tuesday. We won't have one this Tuesday. You're probably watching this with Mailbag if you're not watching it live on Sunday because we're traveling back from Los Angeles. But we'll probably go live Wednesday or Thursday. We'll figure that out. So stay tuned for that. We'll also have daily shows, video on demand episodes, the latest Bears news, rumors, trade buzz. I'm sure some trade rumors are going to start to circulate around this team also. Draft, of course. So subscribe and don't miss any of it here on the channel. Julius, $10 super chat. This is the best losing season ever. Close losses. Field showed growth. Most money in free agency. And now the number 1 pick. Yeah, I mean, look, 3-14 isn't fun, but you saw growth out of your quarterback. You were competitive in a lot of games. 8 score games. You only won 1 of them. So if you won 3 or 4 of those, I mean, you're talking about a 7-win team. So, while they're far away, I don't think they're just 5 years away. I think this can be somewhat fast-tracked. So, yeah, I mean, 3-14 is tough, but I do think there are worse 3-14 seasons. G Radio signed Tony Pollard to pair with Montgomery. Well, Monty's a free agent. Khalil Herbert is not. You could sign Pollard to pair with Herbert. I don't think you would sign both Pollard and Monty, but I am open to the idea of Tony Pollard. He's an explosive player. He can catch the football really well. He's a much better catcher than Khalil Herbert is as a running back. So, yeah, I would definitely be open to that. Mark Sutt, now let's get Hopkins and OBJ. Trade for Nuke and sign OBJ. I think, maybe one of those is in play. If Hopkins was available for a non-first-round pick, I would be intrigued by that. OBJ, I mean, sure, if you want to sign him to a 1-year deal, but I do think going elsewhere at receiver is very much a more probable outcome. DC Viper, would you trade down with Seattle and ask and ask for DK Metcalf as well. This team may need a true number one, and DK may offer that for this team. So trade down from 1 to 3 and get DK. I mean, I would definitely do that. Just move down 2 slots because Seattle's going to have Denver's pick. Open to that idea. I don't know if the Seahawks are, but I'd be open to it. I think I would definitely consider that. Be loud and bear down in the comments. I mean, you got to be fired up. You got the number 1 pick. Second half of this year was tough, but man, you get the number 1 pick, over $100 million in cap space. I mean, it's going to be a fun offseason. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do a lot of live shows for when news drops. Like if they're signing players, we're going to be going live. So that's going to be fun. But get the bear downs going in the chat. I'm going to be reading your comments. From Austin, if the Bears trade down, is there any other pick than Will Anderson Jr.? I mean, it depends who's available, right? I mean, if they trade down, he could very well be gone. So if you trade down, that kind of obviously that limits who could be available. Like say the Bears trade down with the Colts and move down to 5. I mean, it's pretty likely Anderson would be gone by then. So, I mean, you'd have to be willing to other players like Myles Murphy or Jalen Carter or Tyree Wilson or Quentin Johnston or someone like that. Last question here from Varun Kapoor. Who is the best receiver in the draft if we trade down? It's one of 3 guys. It's Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, or Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, obviously, Jackson Smith-Njigba didn't play at all this year, so that hurts his cause. We'll see how he does at the combine, assuming he's ready by then. Johnston, we've talked about him a lot. I've watched him up close a lot. 6'4", 215, good at high pointing the football, good after the catch, good route runner. Addison, very explosive playmaker, smaller guy at about 5'11", 6 foot. So it's kind of pick your poison there. What type of player do you want? I think Johnston's ceiling is higher. I think Addison's probably the safer pick. So kind of just depends on where you go there. All right, loaded mailbag today. Appreciate all the questions. We will be back live soon with another mailbag at some point. So join us for that. Subscribe, turn on those notifications here on Chicago Bears Now.